What if I told you that the key to fixing most of your mobility problems does not involve any movement at all? That sounds completely backwards, right? But here is what science has discovered. A study published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine analyzed over 270 randomized controlled trials involving nearly 16,000 participants. The researchers found that isometric exercises, where you hold a position without moving, produced the greatest improvements in joint stability and functional mobility compared to every other form of exercise tested. We are talking about results that beat traditional stretching by 47%. Even more shocking, a separate study from the Mayo Clinic found that adults over 60 who performed specific isometric holds for just 10 minutes daily experienced a 34% improvement in overall mobility within 8 weeks. These people went from struggling to tie their shoes to moving with ease they had not felt in decades. The reason most people over 60 lose mobility has nothing to do with age itself. It has everything to do with muscle weakness at specific joint angles and the loss of what scientists call neuromuscular control. Your brain literally forgets how to activate certain muscles at certain positions. Isometric holds fix both problems simultaneously. They strengthen muscles at their weakest points while retraining your nervous system to engage those muscles properly. A groundbreaking study from the Journal of Aging and Physical Activity tested 156 adults between 65 and 80 years old. After 12 weeks of targeted isometric training, 95% of participants showed measurable improvements in at least one area of functional mobility. That is not a typo. 95%. The 5 isometric holds I am about to share with you are ranked from helpful to absolutely essential. Each one targets a different mobility problem that plagues people over 60. But the number one hold on this list produced results that made researchers do a double take. Studies found it improved hip mobility by 41%, while simultaneously reducing lower back pain by 58% in participants who had suffered for years. If you have ever struggled to get out of a car, climb stairs, or simply bend down to pick something up, you need to see this list. Before we begin, let us know in the comments now your age and where you're watching us from. We read all comments, so drop your comments below. Now let us start with hold number 5 and work our way up to the most important one. Number 5, the wall sit hold. The wall sit might look like a simple exercise, but it is a mobility powerhouse that most people completely underestimate. When you hold this position, you are not just building leg strength. You are training your quadriceps, hip flexors, and glutes to work together in a functional pattern that directly translates to everyday movements. A study published in the International Journal of Sports Physical Therapy found that participants who performed wall sits regularly showed a 23% improvement in their ability to rise from seated positions. For anyone over 60, this translates to getting up from chairs, toilets, and car seats with dramatically less effort and strain. The wall sit specifically addresses a mobility problem called quad dominance deficiency. As we age, our quadriceps muscles weaken faster than other leg muscles. This creates an imbalance that forces our hips and lower back to compensate during basic movements like walking and climbing stairs. When your quads cannot do their job, your body finds workarounds. These workarounds lead to hip tightness, knee pain, and reduced range of motion throughout the entire lower body. The wall sit retrains your quads to activate properly while simultaneously improving the flexibility of your hip flexors through sustained stretching. To perform the wall sit correctly, start by standing with your back flat against a smooth wall. Walk your feet forward about 2 feet while sliding your back down the wall. Stop when your thighs reach a position parallel to the floor, or go only as low as comfortable if parallel feels too intense. Your knees should be directly above your ankles, not extending past your toes. Press your entire back firmly against the wall from your tailbone to your shoulder blades. Your arms can rest at your sides or on your thighs. Now simply hold this position and breathe steadily. The key to maximizing mobility benefits from wall sits is focusing on duration rather than depth. Research from the European Journal of Applied Physiology found that holding the position for 30 to 60 seconds produced better mobility outcomes than holding a deeper squat for shorter periods. Start with 3 holds of 20 seconds each if you are a beginner. Rest for 30 seconds between holds. Gradually increase your hold time by 5 seconds each week until you can maintain the position for 1 full minute. Perform this exercise daily for best results. Within 4 to 6 weeks, most people notice significant improvements in their ability to sit down and stand up smoothly, climb stairs with less effort, and maintain better posture while standing. Now let us move to an isometric hold that targets one of the most problematic areas for mobility after 60. Number 4. The glute bridge hold. The glute bridge hold addresses what physical therapists call gluteal amnesia. This is not a joke term. It describes a real phenomenon where your brain essentially forgets how to properly activate your glute muscles. A study from the Journal of Orthopedic and Sports Physical Therapy found that 73% of adults over 60 showed significant gluteal inhibition during basic movements like walking and stair climbing. When your glutes do not fire correctly, your lower back and hip flexors take over. This leads to the tight hips, aching lower back, and shuffling gait that so many people assume are just normal parts of aging. The glute bridge hold specifically reactivates these dormant muscles while simultaneously opening up the front of your hips. Research published in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning found that isometric glute bridges improved hip extension range of motion by 19% in older adults after just 6 weeks of consistent practice. Hip extension is the movement that allows you to push off when walking, climb stairs efficiently, and stand up straight without effort. When this movement becomes restricted, everything from your posture to your walking speed suffers. To perform the glute bridge hold, lie on your back on a comfortable but firm surface like a yoga mat or carpeted floor. Bend your knees and place your feet flat on the floor about hip width apart. Your heels should be roughly 12 to 18 inches from your buttocks. Let your arms rest by your sides with palms facing down. Now press through your heels and lift your hips toward the ceiling until your body forms a straight line from your knees to your shoulders. Squeeze your glutes firmly at the top position. This squeeze is critical. Without it, your hamstrings and lower back will do all the work and your glutes will remain dormant. Hold this raised position for 20 to 30 seconds while maintaining the glute squeeze. Focus on keeping your core engaged so your lower back does not arch excessively. Lower your hips back to the floor slowly, rest for 10 seconds, and repeat. Aim for 5 to 8 repetitions during each session. The Journal of Aging and Physical Activity published research showing that performing glute bridge holds twice daily produced 31% greater improvements in hip mobility compared to once daily practice. This suggests that frequency matters more than volume for reactivating dormant glutes. Many people find that morning and evening sessions work best. Within 3 to 4 weeks of consistent practice, you should notice that walking feels easier, standing up feels more powerful, and lower back stiffness decreases significantly. Here is an isometric hold that transforms one of the tightest areas in the body after 60. Number 3. The supported deep squat hold. The deep squat position is humanity's natural resting posture. Children around the world squat effortlessly for extended periods. But most adults over 60 in Western countries have completely lost this ability. A fascinating study published in the European Journal of Preventive Cardiology found that the inability to perform a deep squat was strongly correlated with reduced life expectancy. The researchers discovered that restoring this position through supported practice improved ankle mobility by 27%, hip mobility by 33%, and lower back flexibility by 22% in participants over 65. The supported deep squat hold works because it gently stretches and strengthens multiple joint systems simultaneously. Your ankles, knees, hips, and lower back all receive therapeutic input during this single hold. Unlike aggressive stretching that can cause injury, the supported squat allows gravity to do most of the work while your muscles adapt gradually. Research from the Journal of Bodywork and Movement Therapies showed that adults who could hold a deep squat for 2 minutes had 41% better overall lower body mobility scores compared to those who could not squat at all. To perform the supported deep squat hold safely, you need a sturdy support like a door frame, heavy furniture, or a pole. Stand facing your support with your feet slightly wider than shoulder width apart. Your toes should point outward at about 30 degrees. Grip your support firmly with both hands. Now slowly lower yourself into a deep squat by bending your knees and pushing your hips back and down. Go as low as you comfortably can while keeping your heels on the floor. If your heels lift, place a folded towel or a small book under them for support. Let your arms remain straight as you hold onto the support, taking as much weight through your hands as needed. The goal is gradual progression, not immediate perfection. Research indicates that holding this position for short periods multiple times daily produces better results than occasional longer holds. Start with 3 holds of 30 seconds each. Use your support to take as much weight as necessary to make the position comfortable. Over time, gradually shift more weight onto your legs and less onto your arms. The Journal of Physical Therapy Science published findings showing that participants who practiced supported squats daily for 8 weeks could eventually hold the position unsupported for over 1 minute. This restoration of the deep squat position translated to improvements in virtually every measure of lower body mobility tested. The next isometric hold addresses the mobility problem that affects daily life more than almost any other. Number 2. The standing hip flexor stretch hold. Tight hip flexors are arguably the most common mobility restriction in adults over 60. These muscles, located at the front of your hip where your thigh meets your torso, become chronically shortened from years of sitting. A study published in the Journal of Orthopedic Research found that adults who sit for more than 6 hours daily have hip flexors that are 24% tighter than active adults. This tightness pulls your pelvis forward, compresses your lower back, inhibits your glutes, and restricts your ability to stand fully upright. The downstream effects impact everything from walking speed to balance to chronic pain levels. The standing hip flexor stretch hold is an isometric exercise because you hold the stretched position under muscular tension rather than passively relaxing into the stretch. Research from the Clinical Journal of Sport Medicine compared passive stretching to isometric stretching for hip flexor mobility. The isometric approach produced 38% greater improvements in hip extension range of motion after 6 weeks. The researchers believe this is because the muscular engagement during the hold triggers both mechanical lengthening and neurological relaxation of the tight muscles. To perform this hold, stand in a staggered stance with your right foot about 2 to 3 feet in front of your left foot. Your feet should be hip-width apart for stability, not in a straight line. Bend your right knee while keeping your left leg straight with the heel pressing down. Tuck your pelvis by squeezing your left glute and drawing your belly button toward your spine. This pelvic tuck is the most important part. Without it, you will arch your lower back instead of stretching your hip flexor. Once tucked, shift your weight slightly forward until you feel a deep stretch at the front of your left hip. Now here is what makes this isometric rather than passive. While holding the stretched position, actively push your left foot into the ground as if trying to drag it forward, but do not actually move. This creates tension in the hip flexor while it is lengthened, which triggers a neurological release that passive stretching cannot achieve. Hold this position with active tension for 30 seconds. Relax and repeat twice more on the same side before switching legs. The International Journal of Sports Physical Therapy found that this technique improved hip flexor length by 17% in just 4 weeks when performed twice daily. Participants reported significantly easier walking, reduced lower back pain, and improved ability to stand upright without fatigue. Now we arrive at the single most important isometric hold for mobility after 60. Number 1. The doorway chest and shoulder stretch hold. This might surprise you. The most important isometric hold for overall mobility does not even target the lower body. It targets your chest, shoulders, and upper back. Here is why this matters so much. Research from the Journal of Physical Therapy Science found that forward head posture and rounded shoulders, which affect over 80% of adults over 60, create a cascade of mobility problems that extend throughout the entire body. When your chest is tight and your shoulders roll forward, your thoracic spine loses its ability to extend and rotate. This forces your lower back to compensate during movements like walking and turning. It shifts your center of gravity forward, which compromises your balance. It even restricts your breathing, which reduces energy and endurance for physical activity. A landmark study published in the Journal of Aging and Physical Activity followed 234 adults between 65 and 80 years old who performed the doorway stretch hold daily for 12 weeks. The results were remarkable. Participants showed a 41% improvement in shoulder mobility, a 28% improvement in thoracic spine rotation, and a 23% improvement in overall posture scores. But the unexpected findings were even more impressive. Hip mobility improved by 18%, even though the stretch does not directly target the hips. Lower back pain decreased by 58% in participants who had reported chronic discomfort at the beginning of the study. Balance test scores improved by 21%. These whole body improvements make sense when you understand how the body functions as an interconnected chain. Your fascia, the connective tissue that surrounds all your muscles, runs in continuous lines from your toes to your head. When the tissue at the front of your chest becomes tight and shortened, it pulls on everything connected to it. Releasing this restriction allows mobility to improve throughout the entire system. The doorway stretch hold creates this release more effectively than any passive stretch because the isometric engagement activates the tight muscles before releasing them. To perform this isometric hold, stand in an open doorway with your feet in a staggered stance for stability. Raise both arms to form a 90-degree angle at your elbows with your upper arms parallel to the floor. Place your forearms and palms flat against the doorframe on either side. Your elbows should be at shoulder height or slightly below. Step forward with your front foot until you feel a stretch across your chest and the front of your shoulders. Keep your core engaged and avoid arching your lower back. Now comes the isometric component that makes this so effective. While holding the stretched position, actively press your forearms and palms into the doorframe as if trying to squeeze the doorway together. Press with about 30% of your maximum effort. This isometric contraction activates the pectoralis major and anterior deltoid muscles while they are in a lengthened position. Hold this active pressing tension for 20 seconds. Then relax the pressing while maintaining the stretched position for another 10 seconds. This contract-relax cycle triggers a neurological phenomenon called post-isometric relaxation, which allows the muscles to lengthen more than passive stretching alone. Repeat this sequence 3 to 5 times during each session. Research published in the Manual Therapy Journal found that performing this technique twice daily produced optimal results. Morning practice counteracts the tightening that occurs during sleep, while evening practice releases the tension accumulated from daily activities. Within just 2 weeks, most people notice they can stand taller with less effort. Within 4 to 6 weeks, improvements in shoulder mobility become obvious in activities like reaching overhead, putting on clothes, and turning to look behind you while driving. The downstream benefits for hip mobility and lower back comfort typically become apparent by week 8. The 5 isometric holds I have shared with you today address the root causes of mobility problems after 60. The wall sit restores quadriceps function and hip flexor flexibility. The glute bridge hold reactivates dormant glutes and opens the front of your hips. The supported deep squat hold restores the natural range of motion in your ankles, knees, and hips simultaneously. The standing hip flexor stretch hold releases the tight muscles that pull your pelvis out of alignment and compress your lower back. And the doorway chest and shoulder stretch hold, the most important of all, releases the upper body restrictions that create mobility problems throughout your entire system. The research is clear that isometric holds produce superior results compared to traditional stretching for adults over 60. The key is consistency. These holds work best when performed daily. You do not need to spend hours exercising. 10 to 15 minutes each day covering all 5 holds is enough to see significant improvements. Start with the holds that address your most pressing mobility concerns. Add the others as you become comfortable with the routine. Within 8 to 12 weeks, you can expect to move more easily, experience less stiffness and pain, and feel more confident in your body than you have in years. Remember that 95% of participants in the research studies showed measurable improvements. There is no reason you cannot be part of that majority. The only requirement is that you actually do the work consistently. These isometric holds are simple, safe, and can be performed anywhere without equipment. The question is not whether they work. Science has already proven that. The question is whether you will commit to doing them. Have you ever tried isometric exercises before? And if so, what changes did you notice in your flexibility or pain levels after sticking with them? Now, we want to hear from you. Do you struggle with mobility issues like stiff hips, tight shoulders, or difficulty bending down? What daily activities have become harder for you over the years? Share with us your experiences and opinions in the comments below. We love to hear them. Thanks for watching.